welcome to another episode of Questing Onward. I'm Ashton.
And I'm Whitney.
Thanks for joining us on Questing Onward. Here we do deep dives into the art of communication, explore all of our nerdy loves, and share snippets and stories from our lives. Last week we talked just quickly about going over some marriage advice that we've got. We're going to kind of dive a little bit more into that today, but first we got a couple quick announcements.
Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Thanks. And just a reminder, of those of you who haven't, we love to read the comments. We love to read your guys' thoughts on this. And ultimately, we're going to be selecting a lot of upcoming topics on anything you guys want us to talk about ourselves or just communication, our experiences.
Things you do different. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, love to have it and love to talk about it. So on today's topic, we wanted to talk today about another huge piece of advice that we got before we got married. And that was the concept of not talking bad about your spouse. And so, Whitney, this was something also that was given to you. So do you want to share a little bit of that story?
Yeah, I think this is something more that I observed and kind of picked up. And I'm sure that there have been a couple people that have also told us this. But my mom was sitting in church and all the ladies started talking, all gossiping about their husbands. And then it kind of turned into a nag session where they were just going back and forth about, oh, I wish my husband would help more around the house. Oh, I wish he was more active in our kids' lives. Just all these little tiny things. And my mom said there was a woman that stood up and she just shared a brief story of how her husband had really impacted their lives and how necessary he was to the family. And she was like, I could not do this without my husband. I love my husband and he is the best part of me. And I can't talk bad about him. And she just sat down and the room kind of got quiet and everyone started nodding and kind of apologizing and the topic changed back. But I just remember thinking, I never, ever want to be the wife that nags about her husband. I want to be that woman that stands up and says, my husband is the best part of my life and I love him with all of my heart. And this is everything that he does for our family. And so I think we've really done a good job of doing that for each other throughout our marriage. I mean, have you seen times in your life when people started nagging, like you and the boys just start talking kind of about your wife?
I mean, those of us who know, like me and Whitney, we are like jokesters through and through. Like, so I think we always joke on each other in terms of like making fun, like, oh yeah, Whitney XYZ, but it's all like always known, especially those who are close to us. It's always in good faith and everything like that. It's never actually serious in any way, shape, or form. And I think ultimately from my experience, I think men typically do this very differently. Like, I don't see very often around friends and family, like that we even dive into that. I mean,
women are gossipers. We gossip. We talk.
Yeah.
We'll tend to overshare.
Well, yeah. Well, I think another funny thing is you remember I came home from not that long ago to the gym and I met up with one of my buddies and you're like, hey, how's Mitch doing? How's everything going on in his life? And I'm like, I don't know. We
just bought a house. Like, I mean, yeah, how's the move? Does he need help? Like, what are his kids doing?
I don't know. Like, we just don't get into it. It's just very different, right?
Give me the nitty gritty.
Yeah, and I don't have details. I don't have it. And so I think like men's communication in this aspect is quite different than women's. But the one thing I have seen, I have actually a good friend who every single time, like if something comes up, like he can't do something, or oftentimes what I observe, I feel like he doesn't necessarily want to do something. Men will oftentimes just blame that on their spouse. And like, I hate that. And I like, we even have talked about this like with our friends. And like, it just doesn't look good. It's not cool. Cause it's just like, if it is,
his wife sucks.
Exactly. Well, it's like, if it is true, then like, that's not okay. Mm-hmm. And if it's lying, that's even worse, like to talk crap on your spouse, like your wife like that. So I think that like, that's what it looks like for us as men is like, oftentimes we pass the buck or like I see that we like push that blame onto our wife when we're with men. And like ultimately, yeah, the two different options are your wife and you don't have a good communication. She seems to control you, which is awful. Or you got the flip side where it's like you just blame everything on your wife and now all of your friends think your wife's controlling. It's like, that's not good either. So I don't know. That's what it looks like for us. I think we've talked a little bit more about like, I think it's a little bit more apparent in women. And so I was just going to ask you, like, why do you feel like this is so important? And like, what do you feel like it's done in our relationship by not like sharing as much as you can, or like, I guess by not talking negatively about me.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is I'm forced to communicate with you because I'm not going to other women, or I mean, just anyone in general, whether it be family, whether it be, close friends, whatever that looks like for you. Because I've decided I am not going to them, it forces me to go to you, which if I have a problem with you, that's between me and you. And it gets resolved that much faster. I mean, it is night and day. And it's fine. I mean, it's fine to feel frustrated and angry and like
I'd say it's normal.
Oh, yeah.
It's
absolutely
part of life to feel frustrated.
Absolutely. But it's not okay to just sit on it and let it fester and then go to other people. And then that just creates a snowball effect, especially I fall into this category too. When there's a problem and I just hyperfixate on it, I start creating stories in my head and then I start talking to people and then they're like, oh, well, have you even thought about this scenario? And this adds to it. This makes it that much worse. And then it makes it that much worse. And again, the snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, when in reality, it's like, oh, he didn't pick up his dirty socks. Or, oh, like he was on his phone a little bit too much today.
Yeah, I thought we weren't airing out things here. No, just kidding. The dirty sock things is real though. Like I'm all
everywhere.
So bad at leaving my dirty clothes around. But yeah, no, I think that ultimately, yeah, you said it really well. Like the thing that we haven't even talked about this, but the thing that I have felt that it's done more than anything, because again, I don't think for me it's as like relevant as it is for women and in your experience, right? But I think the thing that it has done, and the like all credit to you for being so like conscious and aware of it, is ultimately it's forced the communication to go up. Because we all have our arguments. Like I would imagine that we have just as many like disagreements, arguments, and frustrations as most other couples.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's done is it's forced us to communicate throughout the years, and that communication is what has built our strong relationship. It's like the fact that, yeah, when we do have disagreements, when we do have arguments, when we do have, don't see eye to eye or don't pick up our dirty socks, that we come to one another. Right. And we don't air out ultimately our dirty laundry to others and then let that build up into something that's just not there.
I would also say, I think it has created just so much trust where I know I can go to you about anything and it's not leaving us.
Right.
And not only that, I feel more confident around your friends because I know that you're just constantly giving me praise, saying how great I am.
100%.
So when I finally meet them, I feel like the best wife in the world. I feel so hyped up. They're happy to meet me. And it makes me want you to be around more people so you can constantly sing my good praises. I get all the compliments, baby. It's awesome. But I want to be a better wife because of how much you hype me up.
Yeah. And
I constantly want to be, oh, that's Ashton's wife. Like, oh, she lets him do anything he wants. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I want to be that wife for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think, not to get, because I think this is something that's pretty personal in our relationship, but at the beginning of our relationship, I feel like we didn't have that, like that support to the same degree we have now, especially with like family. And like that sucked. Like that was really hard. And like, I remember feeling so insecure oftentimes, like being around, that environment. And it was really hard on me. Like it was extremely hard to just feel like I didn't, I'd say that was difficult. And I think just like being able to always have, sorry, I'm getting emotional, but to know that you always had my back, to know that, whatever was going on, that like, I knew that you were there for me. Like, and I knew that there was nothing else happening behind the scenes. Like I had full confidence and trust in you, full confidence and trust that you loved me, you supported me, and that like, there wasn't things that were being said behind the scenes that weren't true or weren't real. And I think that ultimately, that meant a lot to me, just to know that you were there at all points of times. You weren't going to talk negatively and you were going to support me throughout the whole thing. And like that gave me so much confidence in a time in my life where I felt like I didn't have that. And so I don't know if we ever even talked about that honestly openly, but thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Like it meant the world to me.
Yeah, and vice versa, definitely.
Yeah. So anyways, well, I don't know if you have anything else you want to share or add on that, but
I think that's it for this topic today.
yeah. So feel free. We'd love to hear, I guess, your guys' experience on if you ever have talked bad about your spouse. How did that go? Or ultimately, like, hopefully if there's anything you took from this that helped or like gave clarity in some way, shape, or form, again, we'd love to hear it. Hear your thoughts and feedback. So till next week.
Yeah.
Thanks.